Down a darkened drive, you'll find their candlelight. From a widow's peak, you'll see it burning bright. Through the double doors into their dusty tomb, you'll feel eyes from paintings follow room to room. On the creaky stairs, you may think twice as you tell yourself those bangs are mice. In the upstairs hall, you'll see shadows dance. There's a light from the candle. This is your only chance. You run and you cry as you curse this dark night, only to find at the end there's no candlelight. Instead, there's some headphones you put on full of fear. When suddenly it's every nightmare rolled into one that you hear. And it says, "Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacy Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacy.
Hello.
And we have had an interesting week.
It has been cram-packed, and it's not even over yet.
Cram-packed full. It is, nearing the end, but man, has it been great. And a big reason it's been great is because of all of you.
Yes.
The Sideshow Offs have done something amazing. You have made us #1 new bestseller in a specific category on Amazon.com for the book. And it wasn't just 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. It was 3 days there, man. And so it's pretty cool. We can actually get back on there. So if you don't have the book yet, go to Amazon.com and get your copy.
They update those rankings.
Of Till Death and Beyond, The Haunted Journey of John and Stacey Edwards. And you will not be disappointed, I promise. So the cool thing about it is you can go there, or you can go to ParanormalSideshow.com and get your autographed copy directly from us. But if you go to Amazon.com and get yours because you don't want to wait on that or whatever, even if you get it like that and you decide to get a hold of us and send it to us, we will autograph it, and send it back to you, all that good stuff. But with all that nicety out of the way, I just want to talk about how cool it's been, right? So the book got released Sunday.
Crazy.
And since Sunday, this whole big, all this stuff's happened. And for the Sideshow Offs, something pretty exciting here. Instead of us sitting in this seat, we're going to be sitting way over here. And what we're going to be doing is answering questions about us and about the book, because some of your favorite, those dirty foul people, but some of your favorite shows, and I mean radio shows, I mean the kind of people that call you up and go, "We're on 90,000 stations, circling 3 planets in another dimension." Yes. And you're like, "Okay, that sounds great, sir. We would love to be on it, sir. That sounds awesome." We've never tried. We didn't have anything to talk about. The thing is, we've been a guest on a lot of other shows.
Do you think people really believe that we wouldn't have anything to talk
about? No, right. We would, right?
Right.
But we're not pretentious pricks. So we really didn't want it. I mean, this is the truth. When we had documentaries that were brand new and pressed, we were like, "Hey, let's go do all these conventions. Let's go meet our fans. Let's go give these things out." But when we don't have them, we just stop.
Right.
We are not Virgil. And if you don't know what that means, go look up former WWF superstar Virgil autograph signing. Go look it up right now on Google. Okay. And what you're going to see is this lonely man sitting there. And it's been a joke. They have a toy out where it says famous WWF superstar Virgil, and nobody there signing to get the autographs. Okay, because it's become a joke because he did so many conventions and had nothing to talk about.
Right.
So I firmly believe in not burning that out.
Right.
I like to be there with content, with conviction, and, believing in something.
And with a new book.
So we have been honored by being asked to be on these shows. I am super excited, and I will tell you guys, as they come along, we've already got confirmed on several. So we're going to be doing the big tour. We're going to be doing a lot of conventions.
Yes.
And we're going to be doing a lot of meet and greets. We're going to be doing a lot of radio shows. Some really big radio shows.
Yes.
So not that they get bigger than the Paranormal Sideshow, but there's some out there, and we're going to do those.
Yes, and we'll certainly pass along dates and information
absolutely.
as it comes up so that everybody can listen in.
And we need your support. We want you to call in. We want you to be there and have our friends with us, on this. And the thing is, Stacy and I have done shows in the past. It's funny because, I've been booked on conspiracy shows and just went and, ran with it. I'm just like, all right, because I really am into conspiracies and I do have opinions and political opinions and everything else. I just don't do that on this show. I keep it out of the show. Right. And we always will. But I've been on that. I've been on a fully psychic show with all these psychic girls and me. and so we've done a lot of fun stuff in the past, but we actually quit doing them on purpose. And we wanted to focus on our own show. We wanted to focus on the other people. We wanted to focus on the news stories we were doing and the theories that we were doing, and we wanted to focus on you. And this is what has happened. So it feels like so much of a relief to have the book out, to see it, to be able to touch a tangible product that you have worked on and you put so much into. It means a lot, and it means so much because of you guys. We love all of you so much, and we're just excited about being out there in the field and being able to meet you, being able to high five you, being able to spread this around. But we're also going to talk and on these shows that are coming up, and I'm telling you, I think you'll be surprised on a few of the things you're going to hear us on. All right. So definitely keep up with us on ParanormalSightShow.com. I haven't done it in a few weeks, so I know I scared a few of you. That's where you go to find all Stacy stories, and you find a lot of cool stuff, a lot of little nuggets, because we like nuggets, and they're there, baby. And also Patreon.com/ParanormalSightShow. We're going to do a whole lot of talking about that in a minute. So I'm going to leave that one where it's at for the moment. On Twitter, you find out all the information. You will find this out quickly. It's like having your little John and Stacy alert in your pocket. @Sideshow97. Remember that. Get it tattooed. It's important, and it's kind of an Easter egg. On Facebook.com/ParanormalSideshow, I put up the weird stories, probably the quickest right there. And on Amazon.com, I've got my cigar. On Amazon.com, why don't you go there and buy our book? It's called Till Death and Beyond, The Haunted Journey of John and Stacy Edwards. I'm just being funny. I'm trying to do a Kramer, and I got a terrible Kramer voice. I wish I had a better one because I love Kramer. All right, let's talk about this Patreon thing, right? So what we've been doing is uploading the old Haunted South. All right, so we uploaded it. We're nearly done. I know the Third Side catalog is available on YouTube.
Yes, but I'll still upload those audio.
So we're going to upload the audio of the Third Side, all right? Because we want you to have everything, all right? And what we're going to do, this one's a big one. We're officially launching the second show, okay? We asked you for a name, and you gave us a bunch of terrible ideas.
They weren't any worse than our original ideas. Some of them were much better.
I'm just playing. So they were really great ideas, and there was a few that really had some good ones. Like Jeff, for instance, he gave us like 5 good ones, or 3 or 4. I mean, everything that guy said was really good. Yes. So we had quite a few good suggestions. I think Travis Molden had a couple of bad ones, but it's unfair because he has the direct line for being like in the team. Right. So he can send me like 20, 30 of them, It was like going on dinging like 4:30 in the morning, He's waking up from a nightmare. He's like, I just got attacked by the Kraken. And oh yeah, by the way, I was just thinking of a name for the show. So never am I going to ask that again. We ended up having the name come from my son, Cody. But I didn't exactly use that. I just kind of twisted it around a bit. Right. And because something just happened, and it happened organically, as always, and it just felt cool, man. It just felt right. So the name of the show Do I have any kind of drum beat here?
I will insert a drum roll for you.
Okay. John and Stacy's Realm of Shadows.
I like it.
I like the name.
I like it.
I want to make it the main show and just cancel everything else.
No, we can't do that.
No, we can't do that, right? Because
No.
every time we do that, we have to start over from scratch.
Yes.
All right. So
this is just an additional show.
All right. I'm going to be serious. So, and speaking of serious, that's what the show's for. So we are starting John and Stacy's Realm of Shadows. And the Realm of Shadows will be exclusive to Patreon members. And for the Patreon members, for the patrons, at the $5 level or above, you will be able to get that as we do it. It's a monthly show, and we will have a new guest every month. Sometimes, I'm not going to lie, sometimes there'll be 2 shows a month, depending on the availability of the guest.
Yes.
And yes, it's guest. So we're going to do, we're going to have a guest come on. We're going to have a good conversation. I don't know the length, but I will tell you it's probably going to get there.
Yes. Well, we're not going to limit it to a specific length. I mean, whatever
The
we're
whole
going to
thing,
talk about, we're going to talk
20
about.
minutes, you know, an hour, 3 hours, it doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
So it's going to be about the conversation, and it's going to be about the creep factor.
Absolutely.
That's why it's the Realm of Shadows, because we want to go serious. It's something we've always used to have. In Haunted South, we would have the news, we would have the Wackadoodle Top 10, and then we would have this very serious John's interview segment.
Yes.
So instead of that, it's John and Stacy's interview, and it's going to be serious, and I'm sure we'll crack up. I'm sure, because it's inevitable.
Yes.
That we will not crack it, you know, but it's going to be involving creepy subjects. It's going to be involving creepy people. And speaking of the creepiest of the creeps, we're going to have our good friend of the show, David Weatherly. And when I say David Weatherly, I speak of it with reverence. Okay, because this cat, you could pull up something for the paranormal. Say you want to talk about giants. Well, he's got some giant stories.
Yes,
actually,
he does.
He's actually been there. You want to talk about little people. Oh, you know, he went chasing them with Barry Fitzgerald. No big deal. In Ireland, you know.
Right.
You want to talk about, you know, lake monsters. You want to talk about his main subject, right? Which is the black-eyed kids.
Yes.
And he has the creepiest stories ever. So back in the Haunted South days, the first David Weatherly episode, when, you know, we had over 100,000 downloads the first week. And that was a big deal. That was 2010, 2011. And then the return of the Black-Eyed Kids episode almost doubled that. And, you know, it never stopped. So week after week after week, people were really interested in what David had to say. And they were really interested, I believe, in the creepiness of the episodes. So David has a new book, and it's The Silver State Monsters. It's all about Nevada.
Yes.
There are some wicked stories. Okay. And there's some in there that he hasn't discussed really on radio. Plus, on the Black-Eyed Kid front, he has some of the craziest stories that have not been discussed with us, about phone calls, honestly, it crosses over into the Men in Black territory.
Wow. Now, I'm sure he gets that all the time.
Well,
new stories all the time.
He does. And because he's the Black-Eyed Kid guy, he gets a lot of the stories. But I was talking to him earlier today as a little preview here, and he told me some of this story on the Men in Black. Okay. Something that's happened, and you gotta think, this guy researches everything, and he brings a lot of truth out. Sometimes that touches the nerves of these people who are watching, and they are watching. There is a lot. I mean, you can go to Mr. Nick Redfern's book about the dangers of doing what we do.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that go missing, a lot of people that mysteriously die, right? It's a real issue.
It's a real thing.
And so David has some amazing stories. We are going to be releasing the first episode of our new show, John and Stacy's Realm of Shadows, with special guest David Weatherly, and that will be released next week. So sometime through the week, next week, for Patreon members of $5 level and above, you will receive the first episode of Realm of Shadows.
Yes.
We will continue to upload the treasure trove of Haunted South and Third Side, but you will always get fresh new content of the Realm of Shadows because we are going to continue this show on forever.
Yes.
And we have, just so you know, the first 5 guests lined up already.
Yes.
So they are all blockbusters, and they are all one thing in particular, creepy.
Yes.
I really want you to be able to turn the lights down and take this in. So it's important to have a full interview show.
Yes.
There's going to be no monologue.
Right.
There's going to be no cutting up or, none of this, no news.
Yes, because that's what this show's for.
Yeah, that's what this show's for. So just letting you guys know, we will still bring on the boys every now and then on this show. And, and we might still have an interview on this show.
Yeah, or topics or whatever.
It's the sideshow. You never know.
You never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So, pretty cool. I know we've covered a lot here at the first, a lot more advertising than I like to do normally. But I think it was important because we are launching a new show. We just released a new book. We've got I can't say that, coming up. So let me tell you, for all of you who are listening right now, you are those cool kids that knew about the band before it broke. Okay. And it's important. It's kind of funny. There's a meme that I sent Stacy the other day and she just loved it. And it's a quote that I enjoy. Just because of things that I've done and things that I've been a part of, but tell him what the quote is, what the meme says.
Oh yeah, it was great. It said that it takes 20 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah,
which is very true.
Very true.
Yes.
And the cool thing about it is you guys have been our best friends through this, and I mean that, truly mean that. It was a gamble for us, as we told you before, to leave some of the shows we left. But doing this organically together, and all of you, the Chris Martins of the world who bring us news and tell us things, and Dr. Nico and all this stuff, that all our family from around the world, Alan Turner, everybody from around the world that tells us the stories, gets a hold of us, keeps us in line, even
right.
All those good things. Thank you. A big,
absolutely.
Big, huge thank you. Now, on to some weirdness.
Yes, because there has been weirdness. And of course there has been, because there was the huge, huge supermoon.
It was huge with a Y.
Yes, it really was. And everything that happened around that supermoon was so bizarre. Yeah.
And I mean, there may have been or may not have been some magic going on in this house. I don't know. I'm not at liberty to divulge such things, but I'm just saying that we went to Asheville, North Carolina.
Yes, because John is a super sweetheart, and he knew that the full moon was coming up, and that I like to do things around the full moon, personal stuff, and we have a shop here locally, but it was closed.
Yeah.
On Monday. They close on Mondays. And so sweet John said, well, let's just go to Asheville. And he dropped everything he was doing and we went.
Yep. It was after work at, I'm a Bruce Wayne job. On Mondays is particularly hard day. Okay.
It is.
So we're talking, right at 5 o'clock, because normally I'm going till about 7 o'clock on a Monday. But at 5 o'clock, I was just like, you know what? Forget this. I've put in a really long, hard day, and let's go do this. Let's go have some fun. So I took her down there, and
we got there with like 25 minutes to spare before they closed, because we left so late. But they were open late enough that we could just squeeze in.
So it's an amazing shop, number one.
Yes, absolutely.
We've been wanting to go. A place called the Raven and Crone. And it was just really cool, man. And we just been wanting to check it out. So my head was spinning like crazy in that place. But we go from there, and it's like, hey, you want to check out this barbecue shop? I'm always up for a new barbecue. And we were on our way out of town, and Stacy's like, I don't know, I kind of want a steak, but she would be down for anything. I mean, that's just how she is. She's very easy to get along with. But I'm that kind of guy. I wanted to give her what she wanted. So I'm like, you know what? No, let's just turn around. So I go back into the heart of the city, which is not like me.
No, normally we would just try to hit something on the way home.
And I could have hit a Texas Roadhouse on the way home. But instead, I turned around, went back to the heart of the city. At that place, we were looking over some stuff, and I was getting text messages, and we were still getting a lot of things come in from the book and stuff. And one of these interviews I was telling you guys about came through right while we were sitting there waiting on our food. Okay. And it was a huge one. It was a big one. Another huge with a Y. So real excited, and we don't care. I was like, give me a high five, baby. And I put my high five up, and we did it right there and right when we did it, our waitress was standing right beside us, right? Super busy. And I think she loved it. She felt very comfortable all of a sudden.
Yes.
So she heard what I said. And I think that brought on some conversation. And our waitress, I'm not going to give her real name because of just, you just don't do that. So let's call her Pam.
Okay.
And, she was an adorable, blonde, good-looking girl with a fireball. Just
she was great.
Great. Personality for miles.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so it's very infectious when someone's like that.
And she was one of those people that claimed she wasn't sure that she believed in the paranormal.
Skeptic.
And she wasn't sure that she believed in ghosts, but she just happened to have this cool picture she took.
Yeah. Oh my God. The picture.
Yeah.
I had forgot about the picture.
I know, but isn't it funny that the first thing she said was, I don't know that I really believe in ghosts, but hey, I have this story.
Yeah, which is what I've always said.
Yes.
I've always said that. There were so many people out there, and they're always, well, I don't know. But hey, I did see a ghost when I was 2.
Yeah.
It's always out there, but she doesn't, know if she believes or not, but she had a heck of a picture. And let me tell you about this picture. Okay. And this is kind of jumping around a bit, but the picture that she had on her phone, I instantly look at stuff to see if it's one of the ghost apps. And obviously, I know because of what we do with every freaking ghost app. I would like to find the ghost app developers, by the way. And if you are one of them and you're listening right now, I want you to unsubscribe to this show and do not support me, okay? Because you have made me very, very angry. With that out of the way, I've had a lot of people that send me, and I try to hope that they're sending me the ghost app pictures because they really didn't realize that it was on their phone and they accidentally took a picture with the ghost app.
Right.
Anyway.
Scared themselves to death.
Right.
Yes.
So I was looking at it, and it was a live picture. Now, anybody who has an iPhone, you know that it takes the live photos. And so if you hold it in, you can actually see the live part of it. Or if you're going through your phone, you'll see it move a little bit. And I even sometimes go, and because I'm married to Stacy, I have to go on live photos and go when her eyes weren't closed. And I
blink a lot.
She blinks every time there's a picture.
I wear contact lenses. I can't help it.
Every time there's a picture, Stacy blinks, or she has food in her mouth.
Yeah, if somebody's taking a picture near me, I'm shoving food in my face.
I took the best picture of me and Kyler the other night. And in one picture, I'm sorry, baby. In one picture, she's eating. In the other picture, she's blowing her nose behind us. It's just this thing. I don't know what it is, because she's a beautiful woman. And for some reason, if she's not prepared for the picture and she's just in the background,
right?
I'm
gonna be stuffing snacks in my face.
Yeah, there's so many pictures of Stacy with snacks.
I got tickled at. I didn't really notice it until that year we did Scarefest, and people started sending us pictures and stuff, and we had all of our pictures, and we were looking. I was like, "Am I eating? Oh my God, am I still eating? What am I eating?"
Yeah,
and I was like eating something. Every picture.
Here she is at 130 pounds. Okay, and at her height and her build, you got to understand that's skin and bones. But she's always freaking eating, and it's always candy. So anyway, back to the story.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my God, sidetrack. You're the squirrel this time.
Sorry.
So back to the story. So I look at this picture and it's legit. Mm-hmm. It's legit. It's really crazy. It's a great graveyard ghost picture. Now the funny thing to this is this lovely girl, this lovely Southern belle, all right, seems like she should be in our family.
Oh yeah, just beautiful, just sweet, talkative. Yeah, absolutely.
So she had no problem telling us that she had got busy in this graveyard
with her boyfriend.
Yeah, so she got busy in the graveyard with her boyfriend because she couldn't get busy in the place where he lives. So they go down to the graveyard, get busy on the sacred ground, and after that happened, she's smoking a cigarette. I just love this girl. So she's smoking a cigarette because, I mean, come on, right? We just got busy in a graveyard. And right there, she takes a picture. And she looks at it. I mean, it's not one of those things like, it was 3 weeks later. Yeah. I had no idea that UFO was over my head. I just happened to look back through that photo and I seen it.
Right.
No. She's seen it then, scared the bejesus out of her, and, you know, she's had that on her phone ever since, but, of course, she's skeptic. So the other part to this lovely story is you guys know that I have certain sensitivities to the paranormal,
right,
and sensitivities with the other side. It's been something that has, you know, have been developed over the years and all this stuff. So that's either here or there. So Stacy gets on me sometimes because I'll give a very accurate reading, but I will not engage someone in public. It's not my bag. I don't want to do that yet. I don't want that to be part of anything that defines me. I don't want to be that label, but it's there. Okay. So that is what it is. Like, I'm not going to set up shop and charge for readings. Okay. Today. And, so anyway, a lot of times when I meet somebody, I get it right off the bat. It's not something I always control. So sometimes when I put in a spot, I don't always get what I'm wanting, but I get what I need.
Right.
I'm the TARDIS. So I don't always go where you ask. You go where you need to be. So I'm sitting there, and when she walks away, the first time she walks away from our table, I look at Stacy and I say, she's a summer baby. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, first she's trying to dissect what summer baby means. And I'm like, well, I'm getting something about like this energy in the summer months. And, you know, can only assume it's her birthday.
Right.
But there's some kind of energy, there's some kind of importance with the summer months. Well, there was something else that happened when she was first there talking to us about the paranormal. She said, and this is very sad, that the most, you know, best friend that she ever had, okay, was no longer with us. And she said, you know, I would like to talk to a psychic. And she goes, and we just went to this shop who has a psychic. We never pick up cards from shops. We got a card from this shop. It was laying on top of Stacy's purse. And so she just volunteered information. She's like, you know, I lost a friend a few years ago. I would just like to know if they were with me. And that's how she termed it. I lost my friend. I'd like to know if they are with me. So Stacy's like, you know what? I've got this card. I don't need this card. I know where this place is. So I believe this is for you.
Yeah. I was like, you need to go to the shop. They have readings there.
So she gave her the card. The girl walks away from our table and Stacy gives me the look.
I gave him she basically asked you if you're a psychic look.
So basically, I can only describe this look as on Mr. Deeds, the movie on Mr. Deeds, the heavy set woman in the bar that gets in a fight and beats up the girl, the Winona Ryder character. Okay, you know who I'm talking about,
I know
right?
who you're talking about.
That look she gives.
Right.
That woman has a look. Okay, I love that actress. And we saw her in something. We saw her in a Murder She Wrote episode last night. As weird as that is, as the cook. Anyway, that's a weird reference.
Yes, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I could see this look. Another look on Sanford and Son, the woman that would hit him with the purse all the time.
Right.
What you talking about, Fred Sanford? And
I don't think I'm liking these comparisons anymore. We should.
It's the one bug eye. Okay,
Right,
so
right.
it's when you're giving me that direct look and the bug eye comes out and it's just like so she was like, you should did you get anything on her? Are you gonna give a reading? And because I've completely kayfabed it, I was like, no, I'm not that kind of person. Because the girl asked me.
Yeah, she just came right out and asked you.
She asked me straight up, which is weird. She didn't ask Stacy.
Nope.
She asked me, which is also strange.
Yes.
I didn't even think of that part till just now.
Yeah.
It was like the universe was slobbing up balls to us the whole night. So the girl asked me if I did readings. Man, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm the one that gave her the card, and she didn't ask me.
That's really strange. That one just hit me. So anyway, so yeah, I completely like no, like sucked down on the seat. So she walks away and Stacey's like, So she comes and I told Stacey, I was like, I just don't want to do it. She's like, why? And I said, well, okay, I'll tell you. The friend's not with her. I'm not saying that the friend's not with her sometimes, but the friend is not with her right now. That makes it awkward for me. And I don't want to tell her. Right. That's hard for me. That's why that's the part of it that makes it real hard for me to do that kind of stuff. And I said, for what it's worth, the friend is not a girl. The friend is a guy. And Stacy's like, okay. And I think I was supposed to tell Stacy that for a reason. So anyway, the girl comes back and we start talking again. And I'm just like, all right, look. The friend we're talking about, the friend that you lost, it was a guy. She goes, yeah. And she tears up. And I told her that the friend wasn't there right now. And the girl offered up her birthday to us, which was odd as well. She said, my birthday was a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And which means she's not a summer baby. So I even told her. Her
birthday was in February.
Yeah, I even told her the part I was wrong about right then. Well, it so happens that the friend that she missed passed away in August.
Yes, and his birthday was
in late May.
In the summer.
Yeah. And one of her best memories ever was a beach thing with the friend. And but he did pass away in August. So that summer energy that I was getting, because that's how I received it, was summer. Was important. Right. Well, she holds that date very important every time it comes.
And that memory.
That memory,
of
yeah.
The summer.
Yeah. So it's a really big deal. I hope that what happened prompted her to at least go and seek further readings and
comfort, something more detailed.
Comfort and everything like that. I'm not saying it's a earth-shattering moment. It was strange.
It was strange just the way the whole thing unfolded, with the business card from the store, with us going there in the first place when it was out of character for us, and with her just blatantly asking us these things. Yeah. And you actually did tell her stuff, which is not something you would have normally done. Yeah. So it was just, the whole situation was just very strange, but I think that it turned out really well. Yeah, I mean, it did. It did. And, it was just one of the strange things. The other strange thing happened. We were out in the parking lot and we talked to a friend of ours for an hour in the parking lot, because there's a lot of things going on right now. It was actually about the show and about some stuff. So we leave and we decide that we're going to get some gas, and I wanted a Monster. Yeah, it's because it's quite a drive. Yeah. Asheville is. It's a couple hours. So I'd been going since 6 a.m. and I was tired. And it was late. By this time, where we had sat there, it was already pretty late at night. Yes. Yeah. So we pulled into the gas station, and it was actually kind of a
a ratty gas station, to be honest. And then I'll let you go.
Well, we pulled in and I got John's wallet because he was on the phone with somebody else. And so I was, I just motioned that I was going to go get out and get the gas and I'd run in and get the drinks and stuff. And before I could get out, this woman walks over to our car and she was parked on the other side of the same gas pump. And it was just this old beat up truck, like a Chevy or something. And it was just sitting there and she walks over. She's very just small woman, very timid, wearing a coat and a hat. And she was just very shy. And she went to John's side of the car, which was odd because my door was open already. But she walked around to John's side and she said, she was like, I'm sorry. I don't mean to bother you and I don't want to scare you or anything. She's like, but do you think maybe you could help me out with some gas? And so immediately John just looked at me and he was like, go pump her some gas. And so I went over there and because, we try to help people out. We know how it is. And so I went over there and I took my card and she came over with me and she just kept thanking us over and over. And I pumped some gas, put it in their truck for them. And, they went on their way and I went back over to pump our gas. And by the time I was done pumping, they were just pulling out, her and her husband or whoever was with her. And so John got out of the car. John was done talking on the phone and he got out of the car and we were going to go in and get our drinks and our snacks. And he shut the door and we started walking and he turned around to hit the lock button on his key fob for the car. And it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Just nothing, completely nothing. I was like, well, that's weird. I was like, but I've got mine. So I reached in my purse and I got my key fob out and I hit mine. Nothing. Yeah. Key fobs did nothing. Car did absolutely nothing. So we just looked at each other and we're like, and he had just been in the car on the phone. The car was just on 2 seconds before.
This car that we were driving was our 2018 Ford Explorer.
Yes.
It's fully loaded. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. There's,
right.
No reason whatsoever that it should be messing up.
Right. And so I walked back over and I used the numeric keypad on the door to get in and it worked perfectly. Opened the door, lights came on, car started right up, no big deal. And then we closed the door and all of a sudden it was all working again.
Yeah, instantly.
So strange.
So, one fob not working is one thing. Mm-hmm. 2 fobs, and when I'm saying not working, the light on your key fob where it'll be green or red or whatever, neither the light didn't work.
Nope, mine either.
Okay, on both of them, and the car was dead, dude. The car was dead. Mm-hmm. So they were still driving by when that happened and leaving, and when they were gone, everything's back. Mm-hmm. So the next day, I do a complete diagnostic on the vehicle.
Right.
Hook it up to a diagnostic. I check the battery, 100% great, perfect. I check everything. Whole car's fine.
Yeah, no problems with the key fobs or anything.
Not had a problem since. And, at the time I looked over at Stacy. I was like, was that an angel? I mean,
I don't know. It was something.
Because we've had another encounter in the past where a couple of encounters, and it's all been around that kind of stuff. We had a homeless man one time that came up and talked.
Just asked us for a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it felt weird afterwards. And there was another time and I don't normally advertise this stuff, but I mean, I keep money to give to people because I've had a real hard time before. Stacy and I have been at the very bottom. We have been broken. We have went through unbelievable trials several times.
Yes, I mean we've needed help,
and we have desperately needed help, and we've been in those positions before where you feel helpless, you feel hopeless, mentally, financially, everything. So that's why we take mental illness seriously. We take mental breakdowns seriously. We take financial problems seriously, because you know what? Most of us are a paycheck away from destitute. And that's a sad fact, but it's not the 50s anymore.
Right.
So I told Stacy a few times, I don't ever want to forget what it feels like to wonder how we're going to make this $20 go for 2 weeks.
Right.
Anyway, it's not that we're not rich by any means whatsoever. But regardless, we try to help those who need it. Okay. And I don't even try to, unless I can tell that you're a panhandler.
Yeah,
I don't think that's for me to worry about. You know, people are like, well, that guy's just putting on. I don't think that's what it's about. So especially a military person.
Yes, absolutely. Veterans.
When I see military, I will always try to gravitate toward that person and do what I can to help. But there was one man in particular, and it was an older gentleman, very older gentleman, advanced. But you know, he had his uniform jacket on, and you know, I went and gave him some money, and it's like when I touched his hand, I started crying uncontrollably. I know Stacy remembers this.
I do remember this.
And I mean, I couldn't help it. Like, there was so much emotion, and it was just so much emotion. And sometimes I think that these things, not to get real deep on it, but I think sometimes things are put in your way, and to see how you're going to react.
Like a test, like the universe is testing you.
And, you know, we had several great things happen to us in the course of a couple of days. And all of a sudden, here it is, right? It pops up, and here's a chance to help someone. I don't know.
It was strange. I mean, the whole situation was just very, very odd.
Yeah.
But
so have you guys had a strange experience like that? Have you met a stranger? Have you helped someone and felt, you know, like maybe that was a test, or have you just had a strange encounter like that, a chance encounter that you didn't expect that really left you feeling something, you know?
Right.
If you have, please get a hold of us. We may do a whole show on this one. It's just something we're very curious about, and we've been curious about it.
yes.
But this has really triggered us on it. So if you have had these kind of experiences, let us know. And like I said, you know, heck, we might bring 10 of you on and talk about it, or we can absolutely keep it anonymous and just talk about the stories,
Right.
you know, in general. So very cool. Just some full moon madness going on. And I think that's just the way it is during a super moon, right?
Yes, all the weirdness comes out.
Well, speaking of weirdness coming out, I think it's time for some paranormal news. She's the GOAT of paranormal news, traveling the globe to find you the stories you didn't know you needed to hear, and the stories she knows you'll never forget. It's time for Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
All right, so let's get to the news.
Let's.
So this first story is one that's been going around everywhere. It's crazy. It's about the zombie deer disease.
Oh my goodness.
So I know you've seen this.
Yeah, it's bucked up. I'm sorry.
It's going to be that kind of night, huh?
No, it's not. I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing.
So there's a deadly disease that's spreading around among the elk and the deer in the United States.
It makes no sense.
And it's been reported in at least 24 states.
That's crazy. I mean, really, I'm going to have to get serious here because, I mean, you've got a lot of points to make.
Oh, goodness. I'm just gonna wait and see how many of those. I'll count them later. How many of those you're gonna come out with? Well, the infection is known as chronic wasting disease, and it's kind of related to a form of like mad cow disease kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
I hate mad cow disease.
they gave it.
It takes a while to really get them to that point.
It does.
But once you do, it's more like frustrated cow disease. It's you know, I have fun like messing with it. Never mind. It's a really visual thing I'm going for here.
I see.
It's just like all right, so I'm going to restart without restarting. Now, this is the part of the show. God, it feels like it's been a day since we were doing the news, doesn't it?
It does.
So this is the part of the show where normally we go back to the very first of Stacy's news. This is also why we quit being live.
Yes.
And this is be the part of the show where Stacy stops and she looks at me and goes, all right, you know what? Why don't we start over? This is a pretty serious story, and it's terrifying. And it's also about the fact that we could all be zombies soon. So I'm going to sit back. I've got my deer puns out.
Okay.
And I'm going to let Stacy explain this crazy story.
Yes. Okay. Chronic wasting disease. The nickname is zombie deer disease. Now, the reason it has that nickname is because when a deer is infected, after about a year of having the infection, it starts stumbling around and acting very odd. It loses weight rapidly, that sort of thing. And so it got the nickname zombie deer disease.
Right.
So this disease, it's not actually a new disease. They've known about it.
Right.
Just that the cases of it have gone up. So the media attention around this disease has increased recently because a man named Michael Osterholm, he's the director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota. That is a very long title. He told the state lawmakers that he's concerned that the infection could spread to people.
Right.
And that this is something that we need to really do something about now. And now, he didn't say that it was spreading to people. I believe that it's very rare for people to get it. Only 4 cases have ever been reported in the United States for people getting sick from eating contaminated meat. And that's how you would get it. It's not airborne. It's not, the deer sneezes on you or bites you. You have to eat the infected meat.
Does deer sneeze on people?
I don't know. I don't get that close to
deer.
I'm
just wondering.
I'm just saying. It's not a bodily fluid thing.
Yeah.
And there is a fatal condition that humans get that's similar to this disease, and it's called Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. But like I said, it's very rare.
Yeah.
But because this man has come out and voiced his concerns, the media has taken this and absolutely run with it.
Absolutely.
And this is, nobody really knows. I think the problem is there's uncertainty there. They really don't know if people can get the disease from eating the meat because there's such an increase in the diseases in the deer.
Yeah.
In 24 states.
Yeah.
So there's this report out there, like according to a 2017 report, it said that there's an estimated 7,000 to 15,000 chronic wasting disease infected animals that get eaten every year by people, like hunters and their families. People do eat the infected meat because the animal has to have it for a year before it shows symptoms. So you don't know.
So you have no idea.
Exactly. So there's a chance that you're killing animals and eating them, and you have no idea that they have this disease.
So we need some kind of like some kind of bill of health, like they give hookers in Nevada. Some kind of just something we could tag on each deer or some
safe to eat or not safe to eat.
Spray something on them and see if they turn green.
You'd see those deer running around trying to get the disease. Like, I don't want to get eaten. Come here.
The smart deer.
So the scientists...
They probably concocted it at their little deer labs.
The scientists, they think that the disease is spread through contaminated body fluids and through the drinking water for the animals.
Yeah.
Like the animals get it from each other and from drinking the water and things like that.
Yeah.
They're, again, not completely 100% sure. But they do have, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources actually has some tips for deer hunters.
I'm sure they do.
Of how to possibly avoid becoming a zombie.
I got a tip.
Yeah.
Don't hunt the deer.
It could be. That's a good tip.
I know there's a huge deer overpopulation thing.
Right.
Let's just drop bombs on them or something. Like put giant salt tablets out. Giant. Like get the Morton Company involved. And just like the biggest ass salt tablet you ever seen. Put them in a big field. Have all the deer licking it from everywhere and just drop bombs.
That's probably going to cause some human casualty as well. Maybe other animals.
It could be small bombs.
Well, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources advises deer hunters to have the deer tested for the disease, because you can do that after they kill it, and have the meat processed, have it wrapped individually, perhaps wear rubber gloves when butchering the deer. Minimize the handling of brain and spinal tissue.
Have the deer processed, like where they don't do it themselves?
I think so, yeah. Yes. And they also recommend not eating the brain, spinal cord, eyes, spleen, tonsil, or lymph nodes, which I wasn't aware was something that people did.
No lymph nodes.
No lymph nodes or spleen or spinal cord. And it also says that cooking and freezing the meat does not get rid of the disease. Like, that's not how. It's very resistant to that.
Jeez.
So it's a little bit of a scary thing.
Well, it's a good thing I hate deer meat.
Yes.
Can't stand deer meat. I don't like deer meat, elk meat, any antelope, I don't know. I grew up in a very hunty family.
Yes.
And so It was like the rite of passage. Like every year, all the men, like all year long, all you do is fish and wait for hunting season. And then in hunting season, it's like, musket season, black powder season, bow season, season. No one's even sure what you do then. Rifle season, all this stuff. And it was like just this thing, just as part of life. And then you kill all these things and you bring them back, fill your freezer full of them, and you eat them, and for a long time. I mean, it saved on meat, obviously.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a way of life. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you really have to be careful.
Yeah, I mean, you really do. And I'm just saying that there's a lot of families out there, like my family,
that live on that sort of stuff.
That you
Absolutely.
that's part of your way of life.
Well, what bothers me about it is, one, that they're coming out and kind of, I mean, they're not saying that there's a problem, but just the fact that somebody is concerned means maybe they know something more.
I really think that
than what they're saying.
I really think it's brilliant, and I could explain to you why.
Okay.
If you want your name out there, okay, you're just a regular scientist out of the 10 million of them, right? And all these 10 million scientists are sitting in one of the 10 million labs, and they're looking at the same microbes every freaking day. And they're studying all this really, boring stuff. And so you do all this, and you really hope that someday something that you are studying or something you look at is going to pop up. I mean, it's just like anything else, right?
Right.
So in this day and time, what do you say to something? We've proven this before for safety.
Right.
Okay. When they wanted to teach survival tips, and what was it that they used for the zombie invasion? You remember in Georgia?
Oh, yeah. They were emergency preparedness tests. They had people come out and do like a zombie thing. Right.
Which no one ever in the history of emergency preparedness test ever cared about that before.
Right.
Until they put the zombie thing in. Okay. So it's really, really clever.
It is.
All right. Name a disease, zombie deer disease.
Right.
And all of a sudden people are like, huh? Because all these people that, especially like your 15 to 30-year-olds, okay, especially them that grew up on the zombie craze.
Right.
They don't remember the days before zombie movies, or the days, not before zombie movies. I was the biggest zombie guy ever.
Right.
The real zombie movies were a long time ago.
Right.
I'm saying before the big zombie craze, where everything was a zombie.
The big pop culture zombie.
Well, yeah, because even when you and I got together, I was like, I love zombies more than anything. There's nothing zombie anywhere. I can't get anything zombie. Here's Fulci, here's freaking Day of the Dead and all this, but there's not much zombie. And then we have all of a sudden The Walking Dead.
Right.
And everything's zombie. I'm just saying that if you put zombie on something, it's going to sell. And that disease, now there's national attention.
So do you feel, what you're saying is, you feel like they want the hunters to be more careful with their meat, and they're using this as a way to...
I honestly think it's deeper than that. I think that they don't want the hunters to be self-sufficient. I think that it's like having your milk and having your eggs or capturing your own rainwater. I believe this is a conspiracy, and I believe that when they made it illegal to capture your own rainwater and basically be self-sufficient,
right, live off the grid.
I think this goes with that. I think this goes with, are you going to be liable if your family dies because of something they probably injected into deers themselves? I know it sounds crazy.
No. I mean, all conspiracies sound that way at first, but it doesn't mean they're not true.
It just seems if you really do your homework and you look at these places that have went organic and really push the fact of being self-sufficient, not having to have all these crazy hormones and stuff, and where do you get that? Well, you get that with deer, especially. You don't have to worry about hormones. You don't have to worry about this. They're in the wild. I mean, it's gamey, but it's not so. It doesn't taste that bad,
right?
And and they're plentiful. They're way too plentiful.
Yes.
So, as you know, Stacy is the queen of hitting deer vehicles, but
they hit me.
Yeah, they really do.
Just saying.
So I don't know. It's just, call me wacky, but that's my 2 cents.
Okay, wacky.
That's my joke.
I know. Okay, so this next story is about a pilot, or two pilots even, that report a UFO sighting over England.
Awesome.
Yes. How many of these stories have we had?
We've had tons. I mean, just absolute tons. And especially if you go back like the last 12 months.
Yes.
It has been rampant. Like, and for pilots.
Yeah, it's a very specific. The pilots have been seeing.
Oh, I was going to say, it's not a very specific pilot. It's
It's
Delta pilots who graduated from 1978 to 1982.
A specific group of people that have been seeing the UFOs. Well, this particular incident happened with a company called Air Midwest, and two Air Midwest aircraft. They were flying towards the city of Gloucester, and they were doing they were conducting night navigation exercises. Oh. And around 8:15 in the evening, the pilots in both of the planes saw one red and one orange light in the sky. Mm-hmm. And one of the aircraft attempted to intercept the lights to determine what they were, because they didn't know, right off the bat what it was.
Right.
But they were not able to catch up with the lights, or, whatever it was, just evaded the plane completely. Mm-hmm. And Air Midwest, the pilots landed and they reported it, and Air Midwest put it on their Facebook page because they thought it was interesting that they saw this unidentified light. They didn't say, hey, we saw a UFO. They're like, oh, we had two pilots. They saw this weird light.
Yeah, but come on. It's an airline Facebook page. Mm-hmm. You can't put things like, boy, it's a little turbulent up here today, or, like the plane's mostly conditioned well.
Right. Right.
And things like, oh, that was a mysterious light. I mean, it's a freaking... All right, so people don't just like those pages anyway.
Right. All
right, somehow you got tricked into it, forced into it. It was...
Your brother works there.
Yeah, your brother works there. It was like the first time that you went to go visit your granny, and that day you happened to be looking at some stuff about Air Midwest. It's Air freaking Midwest, what I'm saying? Right. So all that stuff that day, you're just like, yeah, well, and you like it, and... Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like some stuff that I like on Facebook, I know I never liked it. Okay, I'll see something. It'll be like, the prostate club, and I'll be like, well, what the hell is that? So I actually click on it to see what it is, because it's a post from the prostate club, and it shows that I liked it. And I know that I didn't like the prostate club.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty positive. That's kind of like my booster shot. Excuse me, sir. When was the last time I stuck my finger in your butt? Oh, well, it was right after you gave me the booster 2 weeks ago. It's just one of those things. Like, no, I'm just saying, I think that's another one of my little conspiracies. I'm on a roll today, people. It's conspiracy day. I'm telling you that Facebook is like, oh, man, you know what? He's never going to look at the prostate exams. We got to do it. We got to just hit like. And I bet you when they do the prostate exams, that they're putting some kind of mind control agent right up your butt. Because think about it, you're never looking at them, right?
Right.
You're never looking at them, and all of a sudden, I bet you these doctors are paid, and they're just like a little microchip, and it's just like.
And then when it accidentally gets found, people blame aliens.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you blame aliens? I mean, think about it. And you know what? It takes all your manhood. It's like. They're like, you know what? He's been manly long enough. We're going to do this, and boom. He's going to go buy a Corvette. He's going to, have a midlife crisis. The midlife crisis all comes with a finger in the butt.
I think we got a little off topic.
A little bit. Okay,
so this post.
Oh, yeah.
Air Midwest.
The UFO thing.
There was a firsthand account from one of the pilots that described the oddities as two large square orange lights, one on top of each, but slightly offset.
Sounds like the orange lights were getting a little familiar.
And the witness noted that one of the lights stayed consistently orange, while the other one occasionally flicked white.
Right.
And the pilot also reported, strangely enough, that on 2 occasions during the incident, he said, I observed 5 orange lights. That was momentarily, he would see 5, but then that would just go back to the ones that they could see. Mm-hmm. So they had no idea what this was. And, Air Midwest, they posted it. Well, a few days after sharing the sighting, with the public, the company went back on their Facebook page because they were amazed at the attention that the story had received.
Were they?
Yes, apparently they were. And they went on to stress they were not claiming that the pilots had encountered an extraterrestrial situation.
They weren't saying it was aliens.
But they did say
it's aliens.
That they did observe unexplained airborne lights that defied our normal expectation of standard aircraft or meteorological activity. And they also pointed out that the two pilots were highly experienced,
right,
and that they have over 25,000 flying hours between them.
Wow.
But they were still baffled by whatever that was.
I wonder how they fit all those hours between them.
So they basically said, we're not saying it's a UFO, but...
Yeah, they Giorgio'd it.
Exactly.
Right. Absolutely.
So, and I just thought this was really weird because, like you said, all the other ones that we've talked about, Canada, Ireland, all those.
Dateline, 2019, Gloucester.
I mean, I could just hear the Ancient Aliens guy right now.
Right.
Totally Giorgio'd it. But I mean, they can't really be that dumb, right? I mean, come on.
I don't know.
It just doesn't make sense in 2019, It doesn't make sense in 2009. It's just like, really? I don't understand. Social media? I was just going to put on their little thing about the alienites. I never expected it to happen like this. Everybody just going crazy. Can you imagine if United Airlines, okay, here in the States, United Airlines put something on their Facebook, right? It just says, hey guys, just wanted to mention that we saw two little discs floating over the prairie. Can't say that these are, UFOs or anything, but I'm sure they're a truly natural phenomenon that is totally explainable, except for the moment. We don't have a good explanation for it other than swamp gas or frog ejaculations. I mean, sometimes when a group of frogs all ejaculate at one time, it can create these spotty discs flying through over the prairie. Or if enough men get fingers in their butt from a doctor, it can trigger this. I mean,
I've heard that.
I've heard it too, but I'm just saying, it's ridiculous, man. It's okay. It's social media. You obviously are doing something here. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens, and it's you got to be more responsible than that. You just do. If you're over an airline thing, you got to be more responsible than that. If you're over, say, I don't know, NORAD, you may not want to say, hey, how's everybody doing? Just sitting here at my desk and noticed that there is a long object coming over the Pacific Ocean right now. Probably not a missile, nothing to worry about. I'm sure that it's a very large bird, possibly an Indonesian mongoose. It's just really... I mean, come on, be a little bit more responsible. Midwest, what is that? Midwest, like Scottish? I don't know. I'm gonna get a shirt now, Midwest Airlines, and it's gonna have like a little UFO behind the plane or 5 orange lights. It's just, I'm sorry, some stuff just gets me riled up. It's all conspiracies, man.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you think the pilots actually saw something?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I mean, I think that the pilot saw something because, on a serious note, if you are a pilot, you make about $250,000 a year. And why in the heck nuggets would you give up a good salary,
right,
to say something that's maybe going to jeopardize your job? Right or wrong?
No, I agree with you.
And I don't think that you're going to jeopardize a really good job. That's why people have a hard time believing Earl. When they get Earl on the nightly news and Earl's like, yeah, I was out here on the front porch. I was just, adjusting myself up here in front of these coveralls, and I was getting ready to go hunting. It's musket butt season, and I was just scratching my dog. Yeah, no, I didn't say dog twice because I got a twitch or anything like Cousin Louie. I was saying dog twice because dog's name's Dog. I say something, dog. That's just how it works. But I saw something, and it was it was coming right over the. Hold on a second. Hey, Pearl, do you want to tell these folks what I saw? Yeah, she knows what I saw because I went right in and told her. She remembers things better than I do. Ever since I got back from Iraq, I had that little plate put up there in my head and stuff. Not like a metal plate. I was out here messing around with some dynamite that my uncle used to have, you see, and I was going to blow a hole, but not for any reason other than I just want to see what kind of hole would be. I heard that Mel's hole thing on Coast to Coast, and I wanted to make one for myself. But anyway, and there was a a piece of Cornell, like the plates, and it shot right in my head. Doctor refused to take it out, so I got a plate in my head. So anyway, I was sitting here and I saw this thing, man. It just came right over right there around yonder, and I never seen anything. Man, I look at the sky all the time. And the only thing I ever see is the sun. And I see ducks every now and then. That's what I'm going to go for here in the morning. I just go have some fun, and this is what I'm saying. And hold on a second, let me get a dip in. All right. So Pearl, Pearl and I was just sitting out here, and I was adjusting my cover. I was saying, and I was playing a dog, and this big old silver UFO came up. So usually when people see that, they can't see. They're short-sighted. People are short-sighted. They're terrible. People are terrible. So they're not seeing the UFO.
Right.
They're seeing his appearance. They're seeing Pearl in her moo-moo, and they're seeing Dog, with the mange. And they're thinking because this guy's front porch is collapsing and it's kind of pulling up the other side of the trailer, that there's an issue going on,
Right.
And that gets me mad. I'm from that their trailer park. I am from the hills, so it kind of gets to me sometimes because, when I went up to the Northeast, everybody's like, oh, hey, your experiences sound really compelling. I can't believe you went through all that. But when I was down here, the same experiences weren't so compelling. So that kind of stuff gets me. So when a pilot does it, is it better than Earl's? No, it's not. But argument's sake, the pilot does have more to lose. Because Earl might have the respect of Dog, not anymore, but Earl's buddies, they know how he is.
I got you.
They're just gonna be like, hey man, you seen them UFOs anymore? I saw Dog Man, and they probably did, they probably saw a lizard creature because they're out there in the elements, but I'm just saying, when we do have a pilot, when we do have a police officer, when we do have an FBI agent, when we do have somebody of record, of note, say something, and it's somebody whose career could be ruined. I think that's what we're looking at. It's interesting.
All right, so let's go on to this next story. It's a little bit of an update. You remember we were talking about the Space Force. That President Trump wanted to start, make a new branch of the military. And recently there was a press conference where he officially signed the Space Policy Directive 4. And what this does is it sets the groundwork for the subsequent legislative proposal for Congress, setting, exactly what the branch is going to be like. They wanted to get it done before the budget meeting came up so that they would be able to have everything in order. And there is a difference because when this was originally proposed, when Space Force was originally proposed, it was
supposed to have lightsabers and droids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was going to be a completely separate new branch of the military. They were going to take all the space aspects away from the Air Force, put it with this new branch. And the Air Force, they weren't really comfortable with that.
It's because of all the secrets in their drawers. That's kind of like saying, hey, Billy, we're going to go ahead and we're going to split your room up here with this new kid that's moving in. He's going to take pretty much, we'll give him that drawer, that cabinet there. You know what? I'm not really comfortable with this. Tell you what, he could share my room, but I'm gonna have to keep that drawer. And so basically the Air Force is hiding their Playboys, and their Playboys are aliens. And all these hidden things. So yeah, absolutely, they're going to be freaking out about that.
Well, the change is, it's instead of being independent, it will be under the Air Force, but still be a new branch of the military. So
over the Air Force,
it is moving forward. And they said the initial startup cost is expected to be less than $100 million, and it'll have all of the high-ranking people. It'll have a 4-star general as its chief of staff, and General
Solo.
That chief of staff will serve on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and a whole thing that he,
I bet the other generals like make fun of that general.
You think so?
Hey, what's going on, Obi-Wan?
And it'll take some time to get it established, but I am looking forward to the day when kids can say, when I grow up, I'm going to join
Space Force.
I
know. I was looking
that.
forward to the Saturday morning commercials during cartoons.
Right.
Where they always try to recruit at me when I was a kid because they had the coolest commercials in the world. I'd be I'll never forget like watching Scooby-Doo, and all of a sudden this comes on and it's just like some buff, hulking guy with a fire sword fighting a freaking dragon, right? Like a 3-headed dragon. And it was like, are you looking for adventure? And I'm like, yes. Are you a man? Yes. Join the Marines. I'm like, hold on a second. Do the Marines actually fight dragons? Because if they do, I'm in. I'm absolutely in.
That's a super secret department.
Well,
in the Marine
I have to give them credit, man. There's a lot of things that are cool about what they do, and about how they lure you in.
I dare say, if one of the branches of the military were going to fight dragons, it'd probably be the Marines.
Well, I was looking forward to the jingle though. It's like Army, Air Force, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. Coast Guard's not even in the jingle.
I don't think it was. It's like they added on as an afterthought. And you know what?
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. It's like they're coughing at the end of it. That's ridiculous because we talked before. Coast Guard's like my jam. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so I love the Coast Guard so much because I couldn't do it.
No, I no way.
Just because you talk about guys and girls that have cojones the size of big, I'm just saying, Coast Guard does some crazy shite.
They do.
They do
on a daily basis.
And it's like, oh hey, these guys we told not to be out in the ocean. Or they went out anyway, and so we're gonna have to send somebody out there in this 400-mile-an-hour swirlwind
in a helicopter,
in a helicopter that can't go in that kind of weather. No.
And then they jump out of that helicopter with a little donut around their waist.
So there was one movie that actually demotivated me. Because I love the idea of the Coast Guard,
right?
And I like to challenge myself. So when I was actually thinking about military, I actually thought about Coast Guard. Air Force was always my thing because I wanted to be an astronaut, but math was involved. That's like my shirt. It's like I was going to be an astronaut, but math.
I can see you up there in the rocket and be like, I just missed the moon by it's way over there. I don't know what happened.
You're so funny. I would make it to the moon with an educated guess. I really would. And you'd be down on the ground watching my trajectory.
Right.
Because it's the guys like me that are stupid enough to get in a little tin can and go to the moon that go to the moon. I don't even know what I was talking about now.
You were talking about your favorite Coast Guard movies.
Inspired
you.
So it demotivates.
Oh, I see. Uninspires, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, despires.
Despires.
It's a good word.
Okay.
So it's that stupid movie, The Guardian.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, you watched it with me. So Kevin Costner and Kutcher, and that movie is like that really got me to know.
Yeah.
Just a whole big heap and helping a note. Okay, so it's been a weird night. I couldn't hear out of my right side of my headphones, and I just actually took them off and spoke into my right ear, my right headphone ear piece, thinking that I was going to hear if it was working or not.
I don't know what's happening.
So something is really bad. Let's go to the next story.
Yes, let's.
Okay.
So this is an update on the Amelia Earhart mystery because we haven't talked about this enough.
Good Lord, can I put a ban on her?
Now. No, not until they figure it out.
They figured it out every few months.
Well, you're going to think this is interesting, actually.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm really not.
So last week we had the story with the group, the Angel Project, or not Angel Project, Project Blue Angel. It was something like that.
Huge difference there.
There is. Where they found the piece of glass and they thought that maybe they found the wreckage.
Right.
So this story is about the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery.
Is that some kind of acronym?
No, it's not one that makes sense. Like TIG-HAR. I mean, it's
TIG-HAR.
Yeah.
We here at TIG-HAR believe in.
So they have been working on this mystery for a very long time. And you'll remember them because on Josh Gates' new show.
It's not really new anymore. Expedition Unknown. So on Expedition Unknown.
Yeah, the premiere episode, he did the Amelia Earhart mystery.
Right.
He went to the island of Nicumaroro.
Oh, yeah.
Where is a place that they have been actually focusing on because they found a piece of like an aluminum patch.
Sounds
they
like
believe
like in a foreign language how you tell people not to touch your butt. Nicumaroro.
They found an aluminum panel that they believe came off of her plane.
Right.
And so this particular story is about how this group has been negotiating for 10 years to acquire a 16 millimeter movie film that shows Earhart's Lockheed Electra taking off from Lae in Papua New Guinea on a test flight. And why that's important is because up until now, they've only had still photos.
Right.
And all of these still photos come from this film that they've just acquired. And as you're looking at the film, you can clearly see the aluminum patch on her plane. So now that they have this film, they can digitize it and enhance it and compare it to the piece that they found on this island. And they did say that they would eventually release the footage at some point, but for now, because it was so hard for them to acquire and it took so long getting it, they're just going to keep it, do the painstaking, digitizing. It's decades old and it's going to be very hard work.
Yeah.
But it is a really important clue and something that could forward the investigation. And if you look...
She's lucky she didn't lose her head in Papua New Guinea.
That's true. If you look at where the island Nicumaroro is, and if you look at the island where the story from last week is, they're on the same latitude.
Right.
So they're not super close, but all of this could be connected. Both groups could be finding things that are actually relevant to the Amelia Earhart mystery. So I thought it was really interesting, especially since we know that they've been studying this island forever.
It's so crazy that still just inspires people to look. You know?
It does.
I mean, think about how many people go missing every day. Okay? Every single day, somebody goes missing. I'm sure they're interesting people.
I'm sure.
And, and there's really crazy, I have a cousin and she went missing off a boat in the ocean. There was like a bunch of them and they were on a tour or something like that. And no one has ever heard from them again. And they found like the boat empty. And
really?
Yeah, stuff like that happens every day. And it affects so many families, but this mystery, of course, it was not just anybody. I mean, especially for females and, to be doing what she was doing was inspiring to generations and generations to this very day of young ladies who want to, conquer everything. And for that, I think it's amazing. But I do have to say, I think it's better as a mystery.
You think?
Once we figure it out, don't you think she's going to fade away?
Maybe, possibly. I'm not sure. It's such an iconic story. I don't know if it would ever go away.
If we had found D.B. Cooper, literally found D.B. Cooper, and he came out and it just made sense and it was D.B. Cooper,
right?
That story's done,
right.
And but as it is, it's this great legend. And I think we need legends. I really do. I think that they're legends for a reason, and I love the fact that it inspires people, and it's just really cool. But I don't know, man. I don't think they'll figure it out concrete.
Well, even if they do, it still has the other mystery of the fact that they found bones on that island, and those have been lost. Yeah. Nobody even knows where they are. So who can test them or figure out who that really is? So very strange, but it's cool that they're still working on it. I mean, it's obviously somebody's life work.
Oh, I'm sure it's plenty of people's.
To figure that out.
This Arthurian stuff. How many people's life's work has that been for 1,000 years?
Exactly. All right, so let's go on to this next story. And this one is not technically paranormal, but it is very interesting. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. And it's about a story about how neuroscientists say that they found an entirely new form of neural communication.
Oh, wow.
So they think that they've identified a previously unknown form of communication that self-propagates across brain tissue and can leap wirelessly from neurons in one section to the other. And what they've done is they took brains from mice not human brains, obviously, and they separated them completely, but then found that those brain pieces can still communicate.
Wow.
Even though they've been separated.
So they cut a piece out of a brain.
Mm-hmm.
And,
of a mouse, yes.
And that brain piece over here still communicate with the brain piece over here.
Right. Now, they had to be in very close proximity because, it's mouse's brain. It's very small.
That's amazing.
But it's not something that they expected to happen.
So why did they cut it in the first place then?
I think the reason they cut it in half is because they found these particular waves. They found that they were self-propagating, which is not something that they thought happened. So I think that was just the progression.
Right, okay.
To see how far that communication
What are we going to do today,
go.
boys? I don't know. Let's see. Bring the monkey in here. Kick him square in the balls. Why are we doing that? Let's just see if any neurons shoot out. Well, yeah, it looks like it propagated all over the place. Let's write that down. I mean, I'm just saying, it's interesting.
Well, it's interesting. The funny thing about this is they don't know, they've made this discovery, but they don't know why it's important yet.
Right.
And
I have a few ideas. No, I do. I mean, I have a few psychic ideas.
Yes, exactly. That's why I picked up this story. And so when they went to publish the findings in the Journal of Physiology, it was so odd and bizarre what they found that the journal insisted that the experiments be completed again before they agreed to print the study.
That's awesome.
So they did it again.
And
there
same
it
results.
was. It just confirmed it. And so they say it's going to take...
I wonder if split personalities help you have the psychic ability because your brain's already, sliced up.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
This is really this is something they're going to point to and go, this is how we figured out how to communicate with each other telepathically.
Right. Well, it does say here that they've known about the waves for a long time, but they don't know what the exact function of them are, and no one believed that they could do what they're doing. So it's actually an amazing discovery that they're still going to try and figure out what to do with. But for me, I felt like this was something that had to do with psychic ability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or, because they're just studying a mouse's brain. Think of how more complex a human would be.
Absolutely.
And how, it's bigger. And when everybody has that thing where you live with somebody or you're around them a lot and one person thinks about something and the other person says it. That happens all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
so
it happens. And like you said, when you're around somebody all the time, you finish sentences, you are both thinking the same song, and that's psychic ability. You, no matter what you want to call it, if you want to be more scientific about it, that's fine. Okay, it's the same difference in science and magic.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
What you may call science, I call magic.
Right.
I mean, but and in this different time periods in the world, what we know is science would have been magic, right?
Right. Because
try taking a flashlight back to the year 500, and I mean, it just harkens back to the fact we only use 10% of our brain function. 10% of our brain function. That's ridiculous. 10%. I think that the human brain is the greatest mystery that we have.
It is.
It's greater than the deep oceans. It's greater than the deep space. It's greater than hollow earth or whatever you want to throw at it. What is really possible with our brains, with things that we know happen. Okay, so there's special situations where people have an eidetic memory.
Right.
There are special situations where people can recall the past lives, or people wake up and speak a foreign language fluently without ever doing it before, where people could tell you the future, when people could tell you what color panties you have on, when people can do all these amazing things, psychic ability, empathy, visions, all these things.
Right.
These have all happened. We know they happen. Even under scientific experiments, they happen. Even going so far as like Firestarter.
Right. Right.
I mean, just going there, albeit one time, 2 times, 3 times that we know of. The very fact that it's happened means it's possible. Okay.
Right.
And more, we find out these little things. Now, if inside of our brain, these little things, there's communication happening basically with Wi-Fi. it's just really intriguing.
It is.
Because what is possible if we could isolate and trigger?
Right, exactly.
And
Exactly.
you know, it goes back to, are we the Greys? You know, is that us somehow? You know, your people are always like, well, there's no real proof of time travel. Well, maybe there is. Maybe we see time travel all the time.
Maybe.
And that's why it's a big secret. You know, maybe that's the big secret they don't want us to know about, is that that's us.
It could be. It's a theory. I'm sure you're not the only ones ever mentioned it.
And the reason they do the abductions is because they know that they have to fix something that screws everything up.
Or advance something, or...
Yeah, have something prepared for a pandemic or something that was going to happen.
Right.
And they have to do this. Maybe the taking the cows is something related, like the redneck deer disease or whatever you were talking about.
Deer started carrying guns and dipping skull and wearing hats.
So I'm just saying, it's one of these things where I know that's often left field, but it's been a left field type of show.
Kind of has.
So I figured I would throw out another left field thing, but I mean, really it makes you think, right?
It does. Well, what I thought about, I admit I didn't go quite that deep with the story, is I was thinking about how it was talking about, you know, the electricity in your brain and how it, you know, spontaneously promotes. And, you know, I was thinking about that with the psychic connection and how, you know, spirits are energy.
Yes.
And maybe that's how they communicate with certain people. Maybe they can trigger that kind of communication in somebody's mind, because they could get close to you. You'd never know, right?
Yeah, I still think that the consciousness that you're referring to is in each one of our brains. So energy never goes away.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And it just gets displaced.
Exactly.
So when someone dies, it's only feasible that the energy is remaining from the consciousness, whatever you want to call it, you know, tomato, your consciousness is our energy, and that consciousness has a signature, and that signature is who we are. So, I mean, even though we have arms and legs and scars and everything else, it's who we are at the end of the day. And I tell you, even though it's not the way I believe, because I believe that it's truly a spirit type thing, but it does make sense in its own right. So if you were to look back at the fact of, I talk about constructs, and when you die, a lot of times we find people that are stuck in a room, or we find people that are only haunting us a particular house. And, you know, why are they stuck in this house? Why are they stuck in this room? And, you know, it's a working theory that we have that, you know, right now, close your eyes and try to imagine your room that you're in. Can you remember everything in that room? Do you remember every little plug-in and every marker that's on the floor and every frame of every picture on the wall, every knick-knack on the shelves? Or do you just have sort of a, you know, a good memory of what it is and where the doors are and the rooms? Or could you actually walk through that house mentally with your eyes closed? And just the theory to that is that's, you know, the consciousness that's left is confined to the construct that the mind creates of what it's able to see. So it's able to, you're able to remember your home. You're able to remember your grandmother's house. You're able to remember your church. So a lot of times you find these ghosts not in a strange place where they didn't belong, but you find them in places such as their church. You find them in their home. You find them in their place of work. Well, why is that? Well, maybe possibly they remember that and they could somehow easily go there because of that. But then we have these strange cases where we have people tell us, oh, you know, somebody was walking up the stairs and there was only the top half of them. And why is that? Well, you know, they did redo the house a few years ago and the stairs were lower at the time. So maybe the construct for them is still there. I don't know. It's very, very interesting. And because that would explain that. But what we may have here at the root of it all is the beginning of some type of paranormal understanding. And that's exciting. Anytime they find something like that.
Yes, I think they're just shocked at this point that they found something so unusual.
Right.
So
good job. They're not baffled.
There you go.
Well, no.
They are kind of, but they're a little less baffled than they were.
Right. Okay.
All right, so let's go into this next story about some possessed students.
Oh boy, I bet they're in India.
They are in India. This is about some girls at a government high school that were being influenced, about 14 girls. They were being influenced and they were crying loudly and they were scared looking at the other girls and being all crazy. And
did the Hemsworth brothers make an appearance?
No, and surprisingly, none of the boys were affected by this possession.
Did the Hemsworth brothers make an appearance?
Possibly. No, I don't think so.
Chris Hemsworth's playing Hulk Hogan. Isn't that crazy?
That is very crazy. I did see that.
Do you know what I'm worried about?
What?
Who plays Roddy Piper? Because Roddy Piper has to be in it. It's his greatest opponent.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out.
If they make Andre his greatest opponent, I'm going to be really mad. Because Andre was already dying. I mean, he was already like lumbering. It was just like, you know, they say it was passing the torch, but Hulk had already had the torch for years.
Right.
And yes, I'm in a wrestling conversation right before we talk about these possessed people. Welcome to my show. But I really, you know, Roddy Piper has to be correct. It has to be the right person. And honestly, Robin Williams is dead. So it can't be him because that was the only other cocaine infused person as Roddy Piper was. Did you know they once paid Roddy Piper with a spittoon of cocaine?
I did not know that.
So he was a really legitimate badass. So they sent him overseas one time to Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico had a problem with they would kill you if you were a bad guy. So they paid him with a spittoon of cocaine, a whole spittoon, big gold spittoon of cocaine.
I'm sure he saved a lot of money not having to buy cocaine for a while.
He saved a lot of money on his car insurance too. So we have this thing happen every few weeks where we have a story about possession with young girls. Mostly young girls. Sometimes there's young boys. Sometimes it's just the children's. But it's always somewhere other than the United States.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And what's weird about it is India is not really third world. I mean, it's not. I know they have some, slums, but so do we. And so I don't think about India like that at all.
Right.
So it's very strange. We do have some from little villages, and
this is in a village, so it might be in a less populated.
But like you said, I think it happens here. I just think that it's called mental illness or something.
Well, I believe so because it says in this article that the way it started was a girl, started doing some bizarre activities like shouting and breaking chairs and jumping around, things like that. And some of some other friends went to calm her down. They offered her some water, and the influence spread to them.
Wow!
And over the next few days, more girls were, started shouting and dancing and
that sounds like Salem,
being weird,
doesn't it?
It does.
No, I mean it really does, and like. I don't know, man. That like the story of that always makes me think. I wonder if that was really real. Like, I wonder if they weren't putting on.
Right.
And it got mixed around. But that does sound familiar.
It does. And so a total of 14 girls were influenced, and the problem started worsening. So the principal in charge went to, in the village administration, not just him himself and school management, they decided to go to the local woman in the village to do a ceremony, and it was called a jagar. It's a form of ancestor worship.
I thought it was a cologne.
And they bring priests in that are specialized in conducting it, and they did the ritual, and they said the girls calmed down after the ritual was performed. And they did find out while the priests were there.
Of course, the ritual is punching them in the face.
I'm not sure that's exactly how it goes.
It's like, Cindy, Cindy, could you please come here? Could you please bend over my knee, please? Okay. Very nice, very nice. Look at that. She's 100% cured. Lulu, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, they don't really get into what the ceremony is.
Right. Well,
slap him in the face.
Well, they did the ceremony. It supposedly worked. But what happened was the district education officer found out about the incident and have sought a report. They didn't want an investigation. And this is somebody who is a what they say is a rationalist and scientist at the Society of Pollution and Environmental Conservation.
Well,
Sounds like a fun person.
That's a really weird place.
They claim that these activities were completely illogical, that they didn't need to do that.
Did he say
that
illogical?
It says it's not a quote. It says it's illogical. I mean, it says that he said it was illogical.
I want you to try the Conemaru, Captain.
But, they claim that these activities are generally psychological, which is probably not wrong, but that they're influenced by films or TV and that they shouldn't have done the ceremony at all. I'm not sure I agree with that because obviously the ceremony worked.
I wonder if there's many Bollywood possession films.
I don't know.
Like where they just break out in song and dance around the bed,
No idea.
The power of Christ compels. It'd be like the power of Ganesh compels you, whatever. And it's just, oh, she's spitting pea soup. She's spitting pea soup. I hope she's okay soon. I don't know. That's really crazy. So what do you think about it?
Well, I think that even if the problem was something psychological, and that they didn't, it wasn't something paranormal or an actual possession. Obviously, the ritual worked to calm the girls down.
That old song and dance with you again, huh?
It seems like if you can solve the problem that way without, putting them through trauma or medicating them or, then why not do that? Why make that a bad thing?
Right. What's the pill that doesn't have anything in it?
A placebo.
Yeah. I know what it is. I just wanted to hear you say placebo.
Yes.
So you are like the placebo queen.
I mean, in certain situations, if it helps.
I think you missed your boat. I do. I really think you missed your boat. I think you were supposed to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Maybe.
I really do.
Know.
I really do. I really believe this. Because you have a unique way of looking at things. You can stay calm through things. You are bonkers.
Right.
But I mean, I'm not even going to pretend you're not. But I think that goes with it too. But the placebo thing is something I never jump to, and you do. And you know what? And the reason I don't is because I'm just like my poster over here says. I want to believe. Always. You do believe, but you also believe in other alternatives to what's going on.
Right.
And first, a lot of times. And a lot of times you're right. So I do think that you're right with that. So you're going mass hysteria on this one.
I think so. Something to that effect. Yes.
Huh. Well, they are brought up to, in these villages.
Right.
With a lot of different beliefs.
They are. I agree.
So you have to be more spiritual when you are not as well off, or
right.
You have to believe and hold on to something else, right?
Right.
So a lot of the gods and whatnot, they hold on to because, in my opinion, not because they're not real, but because when you don't have anything else, it really is nice to think somebody's there for you.
I agree.
And, so I don't know. I agree with you on this one. I agree with you on this one. Except I don't. It was totally a full possession.
Demons are running all over that place.
The devil is in that school. I don't know what you're talking about. I need a new co-host.
All right. Well, let's go on to this next story. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised this story was so far down in my stack here. I probably accidentally did that because we should have talked about this already. And this is about the North Carolina woman that was killed by a mysterious animal recently.
Holy cow. I can't believe this one's so far down your stack.
I know.
So a funny story. We were asked to be on a radio show the other day. And the radio show host called us. Called me, and you were sitting there, ready to communicate at any point in time. And he asked, "Hey, are you up on the crypto thing?" I was like, "Well, yeah, man, we're up on everything because we have to talk about everything continuously. So every day we're knee deep in." I mean, not even knee deep, right? We're wearing thigh highs,
right.
on all these stories. And it was just funny because Stacy and I had just had this long discussion about this case because it was close, and it was kind of like a couple of weeks ago when we heard about the boy,
yes, the boy with the bear. In
the
woods.
Boy with the bear. How you played with the bear for a few days, and which we know was Bigfoot. And so this cryptozoology crap has been pulling us around everywhere. In fact, we've went knee deep into a lot of it. Now this one is knee deep. And so we're going to be hitting a lot of these conferences here shortly. Anyway, we were talking about this case that we're getting ready to read and discuss with you, the listener, when this phone call came in and it was asking us about stuff. And so I just pulled that out. I was just like, because their topic was going to be strange animal attacks that are unexplained, through DNA or whatever. And the rise of these animal attacks and how there's been a lot of them recently.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. We've talked about a lot of them.
We've talked about a ton of them, and we have actually, it's been made a point to us from other people, like, oh my God, there was so many attacks. It was like a werewolf attack and this attack. I mean, it was all these attacks, and it's kind of scary. And I would like to maybe pull all these together ourselves off stories we've done.
Right.
Because folks, listen to me here. I'm going a little old school radio host right now, and I'm telling you, maybe don't go out to the woods by yourself, because there is something going on. I'm not being funny right now. There is something strange going on. Whether this one falls into that or not, we were discussing this because of all the other stories over the past 4, 5, 6 months. So Stacy, take it away.
Okay, so this is about the North Carolina woman, the 77-year-old high school teacher that was killed in a mysterious animal attack. Now, this has gone on through all the major media networks, but, this is fairly local to us, so we've been hearing about this for some time. It was a woman named Brenda Hamilton, and she was found wounded on the side of the road. She just went out for a walk, and they immediately transferred her to a local hospital, but tragically, she did die later on. So the Beaufort County Sheriff's investigators, along with the North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission officers and some biologists, they all responded to the scene because they wanted to investigate what kind of animal attacked Hamilton. And
can I just make a point on when I was first reading the story? This part struck me. Did it strike you?
How many people they sent out to investigate? Yeah, it's like the sheriff's investigators and
go out jogging in the morning.
Right.
If a pit bull comes and bites you on the butt and it runs off, and we're not sure what it was, but we just know that something bit you on the butt.
Right.
Do you think that anybody other than maybe animal control and a cop,
right,
maybe a cop,
right,
are going to show up? I'm going to take you to the hospital.
Right.
I mean, there's a good possibility that none of them are going to show up. But I can bet your booty what's not going to show up is a biologist.
Well, it was weird because, she didn't die. It says she was transferred to a local hospital where she later died. So it is weird that they sent all those people out there. I didn't really think about that too deeply.
Well, I thought about it in respect to me.
Right.
If I was to go outside right now and get bit by something.
Right.
And I thought it may have been a canine, which is the prevailing theory here. Nobody's going to come. There's not going to be a biologist show up. I mean, there's just not. There's just not. And the thing is, if you look at all these stories where people have been attacked by pit bulls or by dogs, I shouldn't just pin it on the pit bull. I owned a pit bull, so shut up. So, people they die.
Right.
People die all the time with dog attacks.
Right.
And there's not biologists, but there's been other attacks in this area, which I have to wonder. Like right now, I envision the movie where that biologist played by Jeff Goldblum has just come to this little North Carolina town, and the local sheriff's like, oh yeah, that's a big city boy there. he came up from Charlotte, yeah. And there's another person involved. You could see the movie, can't you? And Jeff Goldblum is a skeptic. He doesn't want to believe this. He was joking with his buddies before he left Charlotte, going, oh yeah, I'm sure it's that werewolf, and all of a sudden he's like, oh my God,
Well, I think what's happened is the sheriff's office probably went out there, saw her wounded, couldn't figure out, because it says they weren't immediately able to identify the animal that mauled the woman. She was mauled, obviously. And this was during her daily morning walk. So this is an area that she walks every day.
Right.
And so the preliminary DNA testing that was facilitated by the North Carolina wildlife biologist eliminated any wild animals that were indigenous to the area. Now, they do say they're still trying to determine what kind of animal was involved.
That's a lot of wild animals, by the way.
It is. And they said that, and this is something that I thought was interesting about the article. The article says that the authorities say that canine DNA was found on Hamilton's clothing, but that the testing didn't differentiate between whether it was a wild canine like a wolf or a domestic canine like if she had a dog. And the article doesn't mention whether or not she owned a dog. But what was strange about that is it said specifically that the DNA was found on her clothing.
Right.
Now, I know we were talking about this, like you said before, and normally when they do DNA from an attack, they would take that from the wounds.
Do it from the wounds.
Right. But it didn't say that whether they took it. Now, it could just be bad reporting.
Typo.
By this article, a typo or something.
But it was so specific.
But it is very specific.
In every article we've seen.
Yes.
Said they took it from the clothes.
Yes.
Which, if she owned the dog, it's Stacy's point here, that say she owned a dog, then there's going to be freaking DNA from a dog on her clothes. But you take DNA from the bite, that would seem, more logical to see what it could be.
It does.
Now, I don't have an update on the story yet. It's to go with all these other stories that we've had, and folks, we've had quite a few. So, we talked about earlier for patrons that we were going to be starting this new show, John and Stacy's Realm of Shadows. We're actually going to go deep in the first episode, and we're going to talk about all these recent attacks. And it may be a passing thing, but we're at least going to bring it up in the show with David Weatherly. So we'll leave it there for this on this particular story. Because we don't have any more information right now. Right.
And the only next step that the investigators have done is that they're collecting DNA from some domestic canines, I guess, in the area to test that against what they found on her clothing. But I don't think they have any idea.
No, yeah.
And for wildlife people to come out and look at an injury and go, I have no idea what did that. Yeah. That's pretty scary.
No, it is. And it's also one of those stories you don't just make a joke of. Somebody lost their life. And,
yes, it's very sad.
It is a sad deal, and it's horrifying because how bad was she mauled? I mean, people get bit all the time. How bad was a grown woman? This isn't some 5-year-old. No. It's terrible when it's a 5-year-old, but you understand it a little easier because they're so little. And, usually with a grown person, you might get bit, but you kind of know how to protect yourself, or you can, claw their eyes out and, whatever. I don't know. It's just a weird story.
It is very strange. Well, on the same sort of thread, I do have another mysterious attack story, and this is a mysterious attack that claimed the lives of 6 llamas near the Kentucky Zoo.
Stacy.
6 llamas. Wait. Don't say anything yet. Let me just get to this one part. Hold on. So the Louisville Llama Farm adult owner tells the newspaper that she awoke Monday morning to find blood and tufts of wool spread around her property. And that 5 llamas, it's very tragic, were found dead with bite marks behind their ears and by their flanks. And then a 6th one wasn't dead but had to be put down because of the injuries. Okay, you can talk. It's okay.
It's not funny.
It's not funny.
It's horrible.
The poor Louisville Llama Farm.
Will you stop? It's so terrible.
It's terrible.
Oh my God. Okay, so could you read me the part again about the about the crime scene?
Well, she woke up to find blood and tufts of wool spread around the property. This is horrible. Poor llamas. She claims it did at least $10,000 in damage.
Okay, so
it was bad.
I'm donating right now to an animal shelter, and we really need everybody to know that we love animals.
Yes, we love llamas. It's fine.
I mean, we love animals, and it's just the situation right now in our studio here. Okay, you gotta understand that it's been a strange couple days. and she caught me off guard with the Louisville llama farm. And,
I'm sorry.
And the crime scene got me. So the one that was still alive,
it had to be put down.
I wonder if they got anything out of him first.
I don't think so. He was too injured to talk about it. Very traumatized.
So
it says at least 2 other llamas were injured, and the authorities believe it was a large animal, but they're not saying they know what it is.
A group of alpacas.
And this farm is behind the Louisville Zoo. So of course they went to the zoo and were like, you missing any large animals? But they say that they had no idea about the attack, and it didn't have anything to do with any of their animals. So.
Wow. So I've been to that zoo. So I know where this is. That's interesting, and it's horrible.
It is.
It's very horrible. I can't imagine how sad that lady was
that
to
was
walk
probably
out.
her livelihood.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
It's a llama farm.
And she loved those animals.
Loved them. And I just can't imagine how sad that would be to come out, and how horrible. Now this begs the question. I've been to Louisville many times.
Right.
I love Louisville. I love Lexington.
Right.
I don't feel like scared to walk down the street or in the fields.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
What in the heck took down a bunch of llamas?
I don't know. And one of the reasons why I picked up the story, besides the fact that we have all these weird, mysterious deaths, is there was another story from Kentucky months ago, like at the end of the year last year, like September or October, something like that, where some horses and a dog were killed by a mysterious animal, and they never figured that out either. So it's not the first time. It's not the same area. It's still Kentucky though. So
I can't imagine some horses getting killed.
Adds to this. Well, even she said that llamas are very good at defending themselves, and one of the animals that was killed weighed 500 pounds.
There was a 500-pound llama.
Yes, the llamas are pretty big.
But 500 pounds?
Yeah, they could weigh that much. I would think so. If it was a very, mature, older llama, I don't see why it wouldn't weigh.
I'm sorry. I'm picturing llamas kind of like bouncing around the place.
It's because you're picturing like cartoon llamas.
No, I'm picturing llamas. I've never seen a 500-pound llama.
I bet you have and just don't realize how heavy they can be.
Well, they hold their weight really well.
They do. It's because they're all skinny legs and skinny neck, but they got a big middle.
No doubt. I wonder how they protect themselves. I wonder what.
I'm not sure, but she raises them. I'm sure she would know. So she seemed to believe that it wasn't like coyotes or something like that. It had to be something pretty substantial to take down big llamas like that. So.
Wow. Sad.
It is sad. But I just wanted to add it.
Thanks for making me look like a horrible person.
I just wanted to add it. You weren't the only one laughing. Just wanted to add it to our mysterious animal death, thing that we're kind of racking up here because it's been so strange.
It's a very weird time, folks. I hope everybody listening is as weirded out as we are, because sometimes, we don't make the news, we just report it. And this is absolutely a terrifying time. Things have changed. We used to have to search for stories. Like you go back 7, 8 years, we would like pick up stories that were just crazy. And, there wasn't, there's stories that we leave out now that we used to pick up. Let me put it that way.
Right.
So we used to pick up every single mysterious boom story and stuff like that because there is one every week, right? And we used to pick up every single UFO sighting because there is one every day. Now there's been so much stuff happen. It's just like there is some crazy stuff going on.
It's very interesting. All right, so let's go on to this next story.
Okay.
About a discovery. And this is a discovery found in the caves at Cresswell Crags. I love that show, by the way.
Yes.
Discovery of Witches.
And it's the best.
I'm going to order the book.
If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. Like, I'm talking to the people right now.
Yes.
I know you've watched it.
Yes, I have watched it. I might watch it again.
Yeah. Discovery of Witches. Find it, watch it, binge it. You'll thank us later.
Yes. And oddly enough, they did discover hundreds of, quote, witches' marks.
Oh, really?
Yes. And these caves are on the border between Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire. And some thought that this supposedly was the entrance to hell.
Oh, wow.
That's like the rumor, the legend, or
a lot
whatever.
of entrances to hell around the world.
There are. And the marks, according to experts, are intended to stop evil spirits and are thought to be the largest collection in one place in the UK. And it goes on to talk about how witches' marks are most commonly found in old churches and houses, often near windows, doorways, and fireplaces to ward off from evil spirits.
So it's people worried about witches.
Yeah, see, I read it wrong at first too. At first I thought, oh, witches made marks. No, I believe that these witches' marks are to ward off evil spirits and people that they thought were witches.
I'm sorry. That would make me want to go there.
I'd be like, oh, look, they wrote my name. Let's go.
I would be like, oh,
Look at the little marks they have.
that is interesting. Does it go down? Is there an opening there? Is it some deep caves?
It does not say. I mean, it's just purported to be the
If it is, it's
to
probably
hell.
a Hollow Earth entrance.
These are also the caves that are rumored to have once provided a hideout for Robin Hood.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that they do tours there, and these marks were previously thought to have been graffiti. So they have known that the marks were there all this time, but I guess they didn't study them close enough.
Yeah.
And now they've come back and decided that these are actually witches' marks. I guess
Because there's something evil down there.
right, because rumors, they start for a reason, right?
Always.
Legends, there's always a little ring of truth to them. So something's in those caves. It says the most common marking included the double V etchings, which is thought to refer to Mary, Virgin
Yeah.
of Virgins. To me, that just makes a W, the two V's.
Yeah, like the
W.
Vitch movie.
And there are also diagonal lines, mazes, and boxes, which were intended to capture or trap evil. And it appears that the marks have been added to over time. So it's not something that someone did one time, and it's like
It's like somebody else came and they're like, yep, they're right.
Yeah.
Put something else up there.
It's like those old ones aren't working. Let's do some more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting find. I thought that was really cool about the witches' marks. And I thought it was funny that I read it and thought that witches had made marks on these caves.
I know.
Then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not what those are.
Well, I'm kind of glad because what that's uninteresting, right?
I guess so.
The little witch marks. It reminds me of a little cartoon I shared. And if you don't follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/paranormal sideshow, you might have missed this, but it was the funniest little cartoon that I found and posted on the sideshow. I could actually visualize this one for you. It was like, is your friend a witch? Know the signs. Number 1, they have more candles than they need.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Number 2, they have jars full of random stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Okay.
like tears of men,
Tears of men.
moon water, they're obsessed with rocks.
Crystals, you mean? Yes,
like citrine, quartz,
right.
that kind of stuff. Their room always smells really nice.
As we burn our incense here on the table.
I don't know what you keep alluding to.
I don't know. It's ringing
They
true.
are constantly talking about the moon.
No, we never talk about the moon.
If you look hard enough, you can find sigils on everything they own.
I thought it was witch's mark.
The last one was you just know.
Right,
And it's a
right.
person in all black.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It is a funny cartoon.
I thought it was amazing because the best kind of comedy is stuff that actually kind of points out the truth. It's funny. There's been a really resurgence in, I don't want to give people the wrong idea. Listen, we love stones. Mm-hmm. We do. We look for them. We like to find the healing properties, but we love everything paranormal though, and metaphysical. Mm-hmm. So we study all these things, and we go to these places, and we examine things and try things, just because it's all part of the game.
Yes, I agree. All right, so let's go into this other story about this discovery. And
so listen, I know she's going to cut this out of the show, but you gotta understand what I have to deal with. Okay, so we're sitting here and we're talking about all this creepy stuff. We're having a pretty creepy show. We're doing this in very low light. All right, and all of a sudden we hear this. And it was right after Stacy says, "This reminded me of you," and it's like.
It was very loud.
And I was like, we look at each other. It's always like that you know the emoji with the two big eyes, like it looks like somebody just did the examination, and that's how we looked at each other, like, oh, and it's like, did you hear that? Yes. What was that? So we were like looking around. I was like, it sounded like a hiss. And then she moves her hand, and all of a sudden it's shh, because it's her papers against the freaking microphone base.
Sorry. Okay, I'm holding it far away now.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay, so not a particularly paranormal story, but did remind me of you.
Yes. It reminded me of you. Yeah.
I cut that out before, so I had to say it again.
Okay.
Colorado construction site where they found some human bones that could be 1,000 years old under their construction site where they're building homes. And
look what I found down the street. It was the strangest thing.
So, the construction workers did report it immediately to the police, and the homicide detectives came out. They've started an investigation. They do believe that the human bones were from Native Americans, and there wasn't anything built in this site before. It was just a field.
Before they built that city?
Before they started digging. So nobody's been over there doing anything. So they found this supposedly possible Native American man that could be 1,000 years old, and the whole site has been turned over to the Colorado State archaeologist.
Yeah.
To check it out.
I'm sure the owner is really happy with those construction workers.
Right. And because it even says in the article that they thank the developer for notifying authorities of the discovery and for treating the area respectfully. Yeah, well, he's not a developer in Edwards and Sons, because I can tell you what, again, it's like, hey boss, I found, oh God, what? That's a day, boys, that's a day, we'll see you tomorrow, except for you, Leroy. All right, get every one of them and take them down there. To the park? Yeah, take them to the park. Put them in a sandbox. Have one of them stick it up. All right? Make sure it's something that one of those little brats is going to find, and then get back here as soon as you can. We got a hotel to build. That's funny. I actually don't think you would do that if it was a human skeleton. I mean, maybe a ship or a pottery or something, but human remains, you never know how old they are. It could be a recent thing. Right. No, there's no way I would do that to stay on schedule. You're right. I'm not that kind of boss. All right, so let's just do our last few stories here. How's that? All right, let's go. Okay, so this is a story about a man who claimed that extraterrestrials were to blame for his rollover accidents. Okay. For his rollover accidents. Yes, it was a solo. It was just the way you said all that. It was sorry. Rollover accidents. It was a solo vehicle accident. It was a white Ford. Like a Millennium Falcon? Yes, absolutely. Like, no. I hate those solo vehicle accidents. It was just the van. A white Ford E350 van, for unknown reasons, just overturned, landing on its side after crossing the oncoming traffic lane. Excuse me. It just rolled over. And it says the van was traveling upbound on Highway 18 towards Rim Forest just after 1:34 in the afternoon. Rim Forest. This is in California. And according to the transcripts of there's a lot of like suspicious activity that takes place in Rim Forest. Probably. What do you want to meet? How about Rim Forest? According to the California Highway Patrol transcripts of the original 911 call, the driver adamantly stated that his van was flipped over by aliens. Adamant. And it said that it was noted in the transcripts that the male driver became confrontational with bystanders and officers, claimed he did not want law enforcement on the scene, and demanded a tow truck. So it wasn't a traffic hazard. So he wasn't like messed up on anything. It doesn't say that he was. It says he was not transported for his injuries. It implied it though. It said it was California. And it does say that his claims of alien intervention are under investigation by the California Highway Patrol. I bet they really are. Well, it's funny, and we laugh about this, but oh, we do. There is a story from a few years ago, and I remember reading about this, and so I looked it up again, and it was from 2015. And I'll link to the article. There's a really good Mysterious Universe article on it, and it's from this car dash cam footage of this truck, and then there's a car behind the truck, and in the video, the truck veers off the road to the right, the car swerves to miss him and gets hit by another car, oncoming traffic, and somebody dies in this accident. It's terrible. But in the video, you can clearly see a UFO flying over the tree line right beside the road. And it was almost like the guy in the truck was watching it, because the way his truck veered off the road. So in essence, this UFO caused this fatal car accident, which is terrible.
Wow.
But it's not something that's not unheard of.
Right.
Well, so it's very crazy.
That is crazy.
And, I watched the video a couple times. I don't know what that object is. It's very strange. And this is, from years ago, like 2015.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
So, wow. I could just say wow. And very interesting stuff. Again, there is some weird things going on. And I can see totally how a UFO could cause you to wreck. After you explained it like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know I've goosenecked. When am I not looking up?
Yeah, really. Really. That's true.
Huh. Because I know you've had to stop me many times on the interstate looking through the sunroof at night.
Well, interesting story anyway. Yeah. I'm curious what kind of investigation they're going to do for the aliens turned my truck over on the highway thing.
That's your fault. Me not turning the truck over, but me laughing going into that.
Right.
I think you control how these stories go at the very first.
Well, he didn't get hurt. It
was your
whole
it was your tongue in cheek way you were talking.
I'm sorry.
You should approach it like there's a man in California who is very upset with aliens for turning his because it could be like that. Instead you're like, it's like a zany music behind it. It's like, this just in. Crazy man in California thinks aliens are turning over van.
All right. Do I sound just like that? It's kind of cool. I don't know. All right. So let's go into this next story. And this is about a spooky medieval farmhouse that's been abandoned for half a century and is for sale. It's the ideal fixer-upper, they've said.
I want it now.
Yes. So it's a 17th century house. It's beautiful. I've seen the pictures. It is very run down, though. It does need a lot of work.
It probably needed a lot of work when it was brand new.
Yes. And the guy that owns it, that's selling it, says it's very haunted. Very haunted.
That's crazy. I would never expect a 17th century farmhouse to be very haunted.
So the man, his name's David Hunt. Him and his mother bought the farmhouse in 2011. They expected to undergo the task of bringing it back to its former glory, and they planned to renovate it and then move into it. But now they've decided they don't want to do that. They want to sell it instead. It's called the Upcott Barton Farmhouse in Devon. Now, it's for sale for £530,000, but it does need lots of work. And David Hunt, he has updated some of the house. You can see in the pictures that there have been updates done, and he did restore it to what it would have looked like.
Probably what's causing the activity.
Well, exactly. And he even said that, for some reason, he ends up buying houses that end up being haunted. He likes to renovate homes. That's what he does. And he said that you come to realize when you start doing the work in the house, you disturb whatever's there and it starts to appear. And that's happened to him more than once. That's happened several times.
Yeah, that's crazy. It explains why he's running away, though.
Yeah. It could just be, I think it said
I'm making the joke about the construction
workers. They always run, don't they?
Every time we do an investigation where there has been construction work going on, and which as always starts, that's one of those old things that you hear that people pick up on, and they watch a couple episodes of Ghost Hunters and they think, well, they said it, so it's true. Of the fact that construction work or renovation can cause activity to increase. Folks, yes, absolutely. So a lot of John and Stacy's investigations have been that way, and we're always talking to people, and we can't help but laugh, and it's so funny because we're trying to be serious, and we'll be in the initial interview,
right?
And the lady or man will say,
the client
will say, then Hank and Butch were working on that room, and they all of a sudden ran out with their arms flailing.
They left all their tools,
left their power saw and every their brand new ladders and all this stuff, because that's what used to freak us out, because we'd be like, so they left, they wouldn't come back for it. Thousands of dollars worth of stuff. I'm sorry, this is your livelihood, and these guys in walk of life, right? So you're walking through a mall These are big, rippling muscled, iron hand people.
Right.
But they're in these buildings by themselves, and it always just cracked us up. It wouldn't be funny if they weren't such tough guys.
Right.
I'm not making fun by any mean of construction workers.
No, absolutely
I'm making
not.
fun of the fact that the strongest, toughest dudes out there are the ones running out the building.
Well, and the fact of how many stories like that we hear. It's not just one here and one there.
All
It's
over the
like
place.
All over the place.
All over the place.
Well, this place, that he did do some of the renovations, and when he did, he found something really amazing. It says while he was digging up earth at the side of the house one day, he discovered the remains of an entire room that had been buried for at least a century.
Oh my God.
And within the rubble of part of the house that had collapsed decades ago, he found remains of like an exquisite parquetry ceiling. And he later found out, because this woman came by who once lived there a long time ago. She came by and explained that there was a great hall and explained like the layout of it and stuff like that. So he found where that room had been, and it had been buried because it had collapsed. It's very crazy.
Wow.
And he did do some research because it is a famous, farmhouse. It has a name, the Upcott Barton House. And he found out about a death that was in a house, and it was in a manuscript by a former resident named Alfred Chapman. And he wrote down some of his family history after he came to America in 1870. And he wrote about his sister who was managing Upcott Barton when she died in 1852 in the house. She was 26, and he said that she was beautiful and a healthy looking young lady. And the day before she died, she appeared to be in perfect health, except she had a swelling in the front of her throat. And it never appeared to trouble her or inconvenience her. It's just that you could see it.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the next morning she died, which is very strange. And in the account, it said that him and his brother slept in a room adjoining his sister's bedroom. And sometime very early, the wee hours of the morning, he heard a scream and a noise like someone fell on the floor. And so he immediately jumped out of bed and ran in there, where he found her on the floor and another girl in bed trying to hold her hand, trying to pull her back into bed. And so they picked her up and put her back in the bed, but she died in their arms. Like she had been sound asleep, and then there was just a scream and she fell out of bed. Wow. And then she died the next morning. So that's an actual death that happened in that house that was written down, and there was an entire account of it. So interesting location if you can afford to buy it and afford to fix it up. It does say that the plans have already been drawn up for a 4 or 5 bedroom home with bathrooms for each bed, bathrooms on every bedroom.
On a home that old, though, there's way more death than that.
Absolutely.
Because back in those times, you were born and you died in the house. There wasn't hospitals.
Right.
Interesting.
So it is very interesting, and it's cool that they have plans drawn up already for a really nice place. And plus, there's the remains of that great hall and some stairs and things like that had collapsed earlier. Yeah. So I don't know, very cool. You can go look at the pictures. And the last story. This is about Jose Canseco.
Oh God.
I know we talked about him, but now he's looking for Bigfoot and UFOs.
Yep.
Yes, on his Twitter. So if you went to his Twitter, like I said last week, you'll see that Jose Canseco has officially offered towards a Bigfoot and alien excursion, and there was a phone number to contact Morgan Strelo, who is his girlfriend and his manager. And so the article, the newspaper, they called, but the mailbox was full. There was no way to leave a message because so many people had called. But that's did
so sad.
Find out that it is a legitimate trip.
Yeah.
That they talked to Canseco's manager and girlfriend, Morgan Strelo, who said the trip was a real thing, would be limited to 5 lucky individuals that were chosen for the low, low price. You want to guess?
$10,000.
$5,000.
Oh.
So $5,000, and he claimed...
How much is an 8-ball of cocaine?
I don't know. He said on Twitter that you could spend the day with him and his alien buddies, and he'll show you Bigfoot and a real alien. Yeah. Well, and if he were the president of this country, he would give citizenship to aliens and Bigfoot.
I'm sure. A lot of times I have a clever little quip. I don't. not on this one.
No. It's weird that he's made this jump into paranormal things. It's sad that he's charging $5,000, but if people pay $5,000 to hang out with Jose Canseco for a day looking for aliens and Bigfoot, that's their business, I suppose.
Maybe Mark McGuire will start, taking people leprechaun hunting. That'd be interesting.
I don't know.
Okay, well, except for that last story, that was some amazing news. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, folks. So we've come to that time again in the show where it's time for us to thank you and try to recover and shake off some of this craziness that we've come from. And man, it was a really weird week for news.
It was.
If you've learned anything, please watch out for wild animals and absolutely do not eat deer meat. But what you do need to do is go to Amazon.com and buy your copy of Till Death and Beyond, The Haunted Journey of John and Stacy Edwards, which is now available on Amazon.com. And also it's available on ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to find everything Till Death and Beyond. And then if you want to go to Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow, we may be talking about Till Death and Beyond. I guarantee you we will be talking about Till Death and Beyond. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97, and there's all kinds of Till Death and Beyond retweets going on and people holding pictures of their book that they have received. And I love that. I may even have a contest that with the zaniest hand that's holding that book, because I'm not saying that I want to see the fake gorilla hand holding the book, because it's just this organic thing. We had a couple of emails, we had Facebook posts, we had Twitter posts and everything with people holding up the book, and it's just their hand holding the book.
Right.
So when I saw that, I started thinking, man, wouldn't it be cool to see a gorilla paw holding the book, so just saying, if I see that, and if you have a fake gorilla paw hanging around the house, you may get a free t-shirt. So just throwing that out there. So if you have the book, leave a review, let us know, and say hi to us and all that good stuff. If you're listening to the show, as I said, please just go ahead and leave a review on iTunes or whatever, and get that, the more reviews that are on there, the more that the show gets pushed out and all this good stuff. I do believe, like I said, you guys are going to be the cool kids, because there's a lot of big things that are happening right now for the Sideshow. And John and Stacy, you're getting ready to be plastered all over the place in a good way.
Right.
So
that doesn't mean we're going to be drunk everywhere now.
So for my drunk ass wife, Stacy, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.
Hey guys, if you like what you've heard, please check out ParanormalSideshow.com and follow the links for our weekly podcast. Also, become a Sideshow off yourself and pick one of our killer levels on our Patreon to help support the channel and to help keep us bringing you bigger and better content. So until next week, for my lovely wife Stacy, I'm John Edwards. So long and
stay strange.